Hello and welcome back to another episode of a Cozy Christmas podcast. My name is Art, so I want to welcome you all to episode number 100. I am very excited to have made it this far. This is worth celebrating today. So I've got a question and answer time. I've got a special celebrity guest who has been a long friend of the show, and I have always appreciated her coming on the podcast to talk about music and her wonderful Christmas albums. And yes, it's none other than Rehya Stevens, singer-songwriter of some great new Christmas music. So I know you'll enjoy our conversation together today. It's just the perfect day to record this. I'm recording it a lot later than I intended, but today it's cold, it's snowing, just gently snowing right now. I've got the Christmas tree lit, one of my favorite Christmas candles burning, and a cup of delicious coffee here before me. And so we are ready to celebrate not only Christmas, but all of you who are and have been a part of this podcast. It's sad to think that in just a few days, it'll be Christmas Day, and this season of the podcast will come to a close. But I've got some really exciting things ahead for 2023, and I'll tell you about that towards the end of the show. So stick around. Can't wait to have you along for the ride in 2023. So let's get to it. My first Q&A I want to do is from a listener. His name is John, and he emailed me, I think, a year or two ago. He has been a longtime listener of the show, and he had I believe it was a daughter was born to him not too long ago, and it sounds like things are going great. Yeah, he's got a little girl. She's a toddler now, and he's about to have a really exciting Christmas with her. And so he said that she likes to play with some of the bells that we have hanging on the tree, and the ornaments are slowly migrating to the top of the tree. She is still my perfect little girl, though. And I love that because, yeah, having a girl as well, I know exactly what he's talking about. It's such a wonderful experience. But to start with, John sends in a memory, and I want to play that for you now.
So Christmas for me has always been a wonderful time of the year. We grew up without much of anything. To give you an understanding as to how poor we were, I distinctively remember going to the cabinet to try to find something to eat. And we had half a loaf of bread and a 6-pack of Coca-Cola that my father said we couldn't drink because he was saving it in hopes that the glass bottles were worth something. I think he still has it to this day, to be honest. But we didn't get much throughout our childhood. But what we did get was at Christmas, we would get gifts. I don't know how. My mom would get me a couple gifts, and Santa would always come every year. And some years he wouldn't even wrap them. Santa would leave gifts by the tree with just instructions as to who they go to. And that was the one time a year, being as poor as I was, where I actually felt like a normal kid. Where I had a loving family, and we had things. We had something to play with. And I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. Thank you all. Merry Christmas.
I think, John, you're the first time a listener has sent in a voicemail, so thank you for that. And folks, send in your voicemail. That would be great. I would love to actually hear your voice. That would be wonderful. You can just record it on your phone and get it to me. All right, so he's got some questions now for us for the Q&A section. First of all, he says, will you ever have more of your family on the podcast? And I got to say, I hope so. Grace is the one who's usually bugging me to be on. I would love to have her on more, but the problem is that especially during the school year, she's pretty busy. And when I have time to record, I don't always have, she might not be there. And when she wants to record, I am busy. So it's, even though she lives in my house, we still have trouble getting those schedules to connect. But I'm hoping to get her on more. Then he asks, how many teddy bears does Grace have now? And I'll have to let her answer that one because I think it's probably up in the 70s or 80s by this point. You go into her bedroom and it's just overflowing with teddy bears. We put up a bookcase for her that we had an extra one, which is odd considering how many books we have. And but she really needed that space to display her teddy bears. So she's got some on the shelf right now. She's got some in a pile on her bed. And then there's some also in like a pet net kind of thing that hangs from the ceiling. And there's some in there as well. They're really cute. And she may or may not be getting some more teddy bears for Christmas this year. One time when we were in South Dakota on vacation up in the Black Hills, I can't remember the name of the town now, but there was a teddy bear museum that we really wanted to go to. So we went to town to do it, but then they were closed, unfortunately. But it's my hope that I can take her there someday to go back to that teddy bear museum because from the windows, it looked pretty amazing. Another question, is there anything you've always wanted to do during the Christmas season but never have? He says, for example, go caroling, make figgy pudding, things like that. I would have to say definitely. Actually, I wouldn't mind trying figgy pudding, although I hear it can be quite alcoholic. And I try to stay away from alcohol, mostly because there's been a lot of alcohol abuse and addiction in my family history. I've just seen it tear people apart. So I've just decided personally I'm not going to partake in that at all. So it's not really a religious, it's partly religious decisions, but mostly it's, I just don't need anything else to get addicted to in my life. But something like that, I would love to do I've got a book called Christmas with Charles Dickens, and it's written by, I believe his name is Cedric Dickens, and in it he has a script and plan to do a Christmas Carol dinner, where you do the different courses throughout the night, and then in between the courses you read selections from A Christmas Carol. And I've always thought that would be really fun to do, just to get some friends together and or with my family and do that. But that might make for a really long night too. But yeah, we love going caroling. Just last night, our church, we went to our local retirement home and caroled for them. I even busted out my guitar, which I'm not very good at, but I can play about 4 or 5 basic chords, and it was enough that we could sing and make merry. And you know what? That really put me in the Christmas spirit last night. With all the things we've done so far this season, that was the one that really kicked it into gear for me. And so, that might be a great idea for you, for anyone listening, if you are wanting to experience a cozy Christmas, try going caroling with someone or for someone. And then John asks, what are your favorite and least favorite Christmas songs? I have a lot of favorites. There's the classics. I love the classics. Basically anything that is calm and gentle and cozy, I'm going to love. I have Rehya Stevens on today, and her Christmas albums are quickly becoming some of my favorites, and I love to put them on when I'm doing some Christmas baking or something like that. And even in the summer, sometimes I'll listen to her Christmas album if I'm doing a baking, especially if it's for the show. I know I've said before, my favorite right now is In the Bleak Midwinter. I have there's a cover done by Doug Hammer on piano that is absolutely gorgeous. Also, another album called Guitar Winterlude. Well, I'll talk about some of my favorites in this episode with Rehya, so you can stay tuned. You can listen to that interview. Least favorite. Well, There's the really overly sentimental songs like Christmas Shoes. I really don't like. There's a couple of really annoying versions of I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, and I don't even know who the kid is who sings it, but it comes on the radio, and it just sends this almost vicious gut reaction that I just have to turn the radio off. I can't stand it. There's a couple of songs like that. Usually if I don't like a song, I'll just turn it off. But most Christmas songs I'm going to like. And then he asks this question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? And John takes a stand. He says, personally, I say no. This is such an ongoing debate. And here's what I've come to. I started off saying no, but then I realized what do you look for in a Christmas movie? And I think that's where it comes down to. For me, a Christmas movie is a film not just set at Christmas time, but it involves Christmas. It gives you feelings of coziness, of comfort. I'm thinking of films like The Grinch and A Christmas Carol and The Santa Claus. Things that decidedly involve Christmas. And if you took out the Christmas aspect of Die Hard, it would still be a great movie, and you could set it at any holiday you wanted or any day you wanted. John McClane is going to the West Coast to try to reconnect with his family. I mean, there's Christmas themes in it, but it would work at any time of the year. Whereas a film like The Santa Claus, if you took Christmas out of that, you'd have basically a film where a guy probably gets sued for reckless endangerment, or the homeowners association gets after him for having a guy fall off his roof. I don't know. All that to say, my final answer on this is a cop-out, okay? What I say is, if you want it to be a Christmas movie, it is. And if you don't, then that's fine too. Personally, for me, it's not a film I would watch at Christmas time, but it's on my list of films I call my unconventional Christmas movie list. So it's those films that we're not sure how to classify. Films like Die Hard and Die Hard 2. And, the film that came out just last year, I think it was, with Mel Gibson playing Santa, called Fat Man. I'd say that's a Christmas film, but it's not one I would want to watch at Christmas time. But I'd love to watch it in the summer. So, Die Hard would be on my unconventional Christmas film list. So it's kind of a cop-out, but if you like it for Christmas and you think it's a Christmas film, that's fine. I personally would keep it off my Christmas film list. All I want to say about this is, can we please stop fighting about it and arguing over it and just let it go? All right. But John, I thank you for that question. It's a question I haven't really talked about on my podcast before, so I'll allow that question this time. But I'm so thankful for all these questions. Thank you, John. All right. Now, I had a man named David Spears write in, and he read my column on The Village Collector. I do have a Christmas column there that I write occasionally. It's on the Christmas Corner tab. You could check that out. And he wanted to share some things that he was thankful for, so I thought I'd read them here. He said that he's thankful that his wife, Linda, they've been married for the past 26 years, and he's grateful for her all year long. So well done, David. You're probably on Santa's nice list this year. And he is thankful for Bentleyville, the largest walk-through Christmas light show in the U.S., and it's located in Duluth, Minnesota. And it's available to view online, so I need to go check that out. And then he's thankful for Christmas villages. It's a year-round hobby, but it makes more sense this time of year, of course. And he also got to hear Gerald Dickens speak and do his performances. And he got to talk with him a couple years ago at a Department 56 gathering. So that's really cool. Gerald Dickens, I still can't believe I got a chance to interview him on the podcast. I'm grateful for that opportunity. That's one of the things I'm most proud of, is just being able to sit down with a descendant of Charles Dickens himself and talk about Christmas. Quite wonderful experience. So I want to thank David for writing in and for reading my column over there. I sure had plans to do more writing there, but this year, usually Christmas time is busy for me, but for whatever reason, this year has been busier than ever, and I just haven't managed my time well. So then I had a question from Timothy in my email. He said, congratulations on 100 episodes. And he asks about my thoughts on the religious significance of Christmas. And do I have any plans to discuss that aspect of the Christmas holiday? I know that not everyone celebrates Christmas as a religious holiday, but many of us do. And in fact, I'm going to wait on this question because I have plans to talk about that more on my Christmas Eve episode. I don't talk a lot about it. It does come up every once in a while, but part of my purpose for this podcast is not necessarily to dig into the religious side of it, but I've come across a story recently that I just have to share that I think really sums up my religious beliefs and why I do what I do. You know, to say I'm a Christian, today it seems like that comes with a lot of baggage and preconceived ideas that just aren't true of me. And I don't want people to just dismiss my podcast, and to say that, oh, he's another self-absorbed, selfish, politically motivated Christian. This is really a hot button topic right now. And so I want to be careful how I answer this. But our Christmas Eve episode, I will talk about this more. And I have a story to read that, like I said, really sums up my beliefs about not just Christmas, but Christianity in general and what that ought to look like for a person. So Timothy, thank you so much for your question. And I am kind of dancing around it right now, but stay tuned because I will talk about that more. Yeah, your question kind of inspired a whole episode's worth of response to it. So, but thank you. But yes, being a Christian and the religious significance of Christmas to me is very important and, dare I say, foundational to how I celebrate. That being said, I love adding to it the fun, the things about Santa Claus, the presents, the gifts, all of it comes together for me, both secular and religious, to create this really wonderful winter holiday that I absolutely love. So thank you for that question. All right, next we're going to head over to Facebook and catch some of the questions I have there. My wife asks me, what are you getting your wife for Christmas? And I told her books and coffee, probably. So I can't say any more about that because I don't want to give away any Christmas secrets. But I love my wife. She's such a great help to me and encourages me to do this hobby and I'm really thankful for that. And then Natalie Bickle, friend of the show, she's been a guest a couple times. She's written a wonderful children's book called The Christmas Clue. She asks a fun question that says, if Santa asked you to create the naughty and nice list, how would you separate kids? Which is such a great question, fun question. First of all, I would have a really hard time with that because I'm kind of, the older I get, the more I think that as the North Pole poet Amy told me that Santa's thinking of getting rid of his naughty list, I think I could be on board with that because I know it's getting harder and harder for kids to be good. And you can even explore that question, that philosophical question, what does it mean to be good and good by whose standard? So these are some, deep questions, but I think, there are just kids that are naughty and kids that are just bad. I probably would blame the parent. Is the kid would be on the nice list, but the parent would go on, their parents would go on the naughty list, maybe. I don't know. That's such a good question. But then, I know some kids who are just really sweet and wonderful and kind and caring that they might deserve some special recognition. So, Natalie, this is a tough question. I'm not sure how I could answer this even. So thanks for that. I might just end up saying, we'll just get rid of the naughty and nice list altogether and kids will get presents, but maybe the really, really good kids will get something special from Santa this year. Oh, and then I had a question from Angela, who also goes by Silvana. Now, I just want to say a special thank you to her. She has been a very loyal listener over the years, and she doesn't ask for this recognition, but I'm going to give it to her anyway, because she has just been a sweet and kind person in the way that she has been involved with the podcast. She occasionally will send us gifts. She's made some donations to the podcast that have been very generous, that have helped keep things going on the financial side. And she has just, in many ways, made what I do as a hobby possible. And so thank you very much to her. And she has a question and might have others. So definitely, if you have more, send them in. I'd love to answer them. But she asked about Christmas cozies or mysteries, if they can be read out of order, and do you ever read them out of order? And I want to say, yes, they can be read out of order, but I personally have a really hard time with that. I can't do it. I'm kind of got an orderly brain. I need it to be done in order. But there have been a few times where I've had to read a book out of order in the series, mostly for interview purposes, but it really bothers me. Most cozies you can do that with. You can just dip in and out of the series. Very seldom will the author have an ongoing plot line other than like a relationship, where the main characters fall in love or something. But even some of the cozies I've read lately, the main character hooks up with the attractive police officer or whoever in the first book. And then, but I personally, I like that slow burn of a relationship where it takes 5 or 6 books for the main characters to get together. But that's my personal taste. But yeah, you can definitely read those out of order. You might not get all of the minute details, but usually most cozy authors do a good job of catching you up on the plot, on the characters and on who they are. If you want to be a wild person and just read a book out of order, go for it. So let's head over to the hot mess that is Twitter right now, and we will check that out. I've got a comment from Christmas Countdown 2022, a great page to follow. And he says, "Congratulations on 100 episodes. This is such an impressive feat that I could not ever imagine doing." Well, thank you, sir. Or madam. My question is, what have you learned about yourself through this podcasting experience? And that is a really wonderful question. Thank you so much for that, because I have learned a lot about myself through this. I love painting, creating, drawing like that. And what I didn't realize was how much of that, of doing this of podcasting and all of that, taps into that desire I have to create and paint and draw. Even, down to creating logos and episode artwork and things like that. Even down to editing. I love editing, which not everybody does, but I really enjoy it quite a bit, more than I thought I would. In fact, that might be my favorite part, is editing down all of my random rabbit trails and mess ups and flubs, and occasionally a few will sneak in, and that's all fine. But getting that all done and then creating something Christmassy like this has just been a wonderful experience. And another thing that I'm really happy about is that, and kind of more personal, is coming to understand and realize that I do have a voice, and that I can use it for positivity, for change, for encouraging kindness. I've always had a struggle with my voice and with talking. When I was a child, I had a speech impediment. I'm not sure if it was a stutter or it was more of just really had trouble pronouncing words right. And I remember going through speech therapy in kindergarten and first grade that I really just did not enjoy. But I'm really grateful for my teacher there helping me with that. Even still, sometimes I struggle with it as I talk and record. And I know you all probably don't hear it, but I will. I can catch it. Doing this has given me the confidence to speak and to not be afraid of my voice, both literal voice and my, figurative voice, that, I have something to say and it's worth saying and I can say it. And I'm really grateful for that. And I know some people say that they hate, part of why they hate editing, or even, is the listening to their own voice. And I've actually come to really enjoy that. In fact, there's been a few times where I've been editing my podcast and the sound of my own voice has relaxed me to the point where I'm falling asleep while I'm trying to edit, which I don't know what that says about my ego, but talk about a man who loves the sound of his own voice. But I've really come to be thankful for the changes that this podcast has made to my approach to how I view myself and my voice. So thank you, Christmas Countdown, for that question. And again, I want to encourage you all that you do have a voice, you have a story, and I would love to hear it. So, send in your stories, send in your memories, tell me about who you are, because every person's life matters and has a beautiful story to tell. And then going over to Instagram, I had a comment from the Santa Dad, and he says that we all hope our various labors of love will help someone else, even if it's just to entertain them. But I have found that creating content has greatly benefited me personally in ways I could never have imagined on a very intimate level. I endlessly get more out of the work, I learn more, and that's what I feel I have to offer. Have you found that the podcast has impacted you in some way? I would love to hear your story or stories. Yeah, definitely, Santa Dad. My comments about my voice are definitely one thing. I think it's also helped just overall my confidence in creating a project and doing something, because, I'm going to probably hit 125,000 downloads by the end of the year. I'll get pretty close to it. And just the thought that many people have invested in something I've created that many times, that they've made it beyond, the first episode. I can't tell you what that means to me. It's such a wonderful thing that I've created this podcast out of love for Christmas and out of love for the stories that are about Christmas and set at Christmas, whether they're an old classic story by Charles Dickens or the latest cozy mystery by Liz Ireland, which, by the way, is wonderful. Go and read it. Mrs. Claus and the Evil Elves. Free plug here, Liz. All that aside, people have found this podcast and are able to join in on this community is really something very special. And then just getting a chance to meet people online, people that I never would have met, authors, actors, producers of plays and musicals, just pretty much everyone I've had on my podcast, I have never met in person and probably never would even know about if it weren't for this. And the kind of global impact that has on my life is amazing. I had a listener email me from outside of Iran or near Iran who listens to my podcast and shared with me pictures of their Christmas decorations. And it's amazing that this podcast has impacted people who live far away. I can't believe it. So that's the question and answer section. Thank you so much for writing in, and keep those questions coming. If you have more, I'd love to answer those. One of the people I need to thank for this podcast is Todd Killian at Christmas Clatter. He was a tremendous help in getting this podcast started. It was his podcast that encouraged me to start my own. It was, that final nail in the coffin that pushed me over the edge. I'm mixing metaphors here, but yeah. And I reached out to him. He was such a positive response to my podcast. He helped me beyond measure to learn the skills of how to do any of this. I had no idea. I knew nothing about this side of it. Microphones, recording, editing, none of it. And he was just very helpful in sending me videos and ideas on how to get this thing off the ground. And he's got to be one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It's a heartfelt thank you for your podcast, for your community that I'm a part of. Todd's the man. Well, my guest today needs no introduction, but I'll give her one anyway. I have here a returning guest and friend of the show, singer-songwriter Rehya Stevens. She's the creator of such great Christmas songs like Christmas is Coming Soon and Jingle Jangle. Rehya, welcome back to the Cozy Christmas Podcast.
Hi, thank you, and congratulations on your 100th episode.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to have said I planned this out to have you on specifically for number 100, but it just worked out that way. So
What an awesome coincidence. I love it.
yeah, well, you have definitely been one of my favorite guests, and I truly love your music that you've put out. So thank you so much.
Thank you for telling me that. That makes my day.
Well, great. This is why I have my podcast, is so I can just have time to talk to the people I admire. So
Uh,
no,
well, I feel blessed to be here. Thank you for having me.
you bet. But yeah, like I mentioned, you have you're a singer songwriter. You've got several couple of Christmas albums out right now. So I know I have some new listeners this year that might not be as familiar with you as some are. So go ahead and just give us a quick rundown of your Christmas albums and whatever else you're working on right now.
Sure. Well, I put out my first Christmas album in 2019. It's called Celebrate, and that is an all original Christmas album, no covers. I think there's 9 songs on that album, and that album has become like the little independent Christmas album that could. Jingle Jangle is on that album, and that song has gone on to be in so many movies and TV shows. It's been so much fun to kind of ride that wave in the film and TV world, because you never really know. We made that album without really any expectations. We did it for the love of doing it. And it really allowed me to make another Christmas album that I released last year in 2021 called "'Tis the Season." And that album it's 11 songs, and I think so 9 of them are original, 2 are covers. And lo and behold, I had actually planned on releasing another Christmas album this year, but I think we need a few more songs on it. So we're finishing up the 8th song for that album this week. And I plan to release that next October.
Hmm.
So it's exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah, new album, definitely. Well, and that just gives me an excuse to have you on again next year. So,
I'd love it.
but yeah, I like having guests come back on and just to follow up on how things are going and things like that. So it's been fun and gotten to just make friends all over the world. Really, it's amazing.
Exactly. I know. I love how these things that we do in life have these legs
Hmm.
that reach out and change your life in ways that you didn't know at the outset.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I've got there's a few listeners like in places like in England and Ireland that I have that we've gotten to chat over email, and it's amazing. I would have never even known these people existed if it
Yeah.
hadn't been for something like this. So thank you for coming on and helping me celebrate Christmas and this podcast. It's definitely been a fun experience, and I'm glad I've gotten to know you and your music.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I love that this is falling on your 100th episode. Very cool.
I wanted to talk about music today. Obviously, music is a big part of your life. I've been talking a lot this Christmas season about mystery books and novels. So I thought for a nice change of pace, we would talk about some music and some of our memories behind some of the albums that just have become Christmas to us.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring the music expert on to help walk us through some of these. So what music has played a big part in your life that you'd want to recommend for us?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, the very first Christmas album that I had as a kid was Amy Grant's A Christmas Album.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that it was, you know how at that age you've got all the carpools going on. And I was carpooling with one of my sister's friends, and her mom was playing that album in the car and singing along. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, we're going to learn all of these songs together for the next couple of weeks. And after 2 weeks, I want us all to be singing these songs together. And she was a singer. And my dad is a great musician. And I think she was auditioning for something that he was working on. So she was recording little bits at home of Christmas music. And so that album, Tennessee Christmas, always reminds me of the first grade and listening to that album in the car with friends, um, going over to their house after school and hearing her record songs that she was presenting to my dad. So that's my favorite childhood Christmas album. And, interestingly enough, there are some albums. I mean, I don't know if you're like this. Do you have any
Mm.
albums that are not Christmas albums that you always associate with Christmas?
Sort of. I would say sort of. It's actually the Lord of the Rings movie soundtrack. Just feels like Christmas to me.
Interesting.
They came out during December, so I maybe that's why. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's very orchestral,
sure. Yeah, it
you
is.
know.
Yeah.
Well, I was grounded in the sixth grade all through winter break because I snuck out in the middle of the night with my best friend who lived down the street, and we rode our bikes clear across town and back. And my parents took my little TV out of my bedroom. I had a phone in my bedroom. They took that out. They took my stereo out. So the only entertainment that I had access to was in the living room. I could either watch TV in the living room or I could listen to my dad's old records on a record player. So that Christmas, I had never heard of Joni Mitchell before.
Hmm.
So Joni Mitchell's Blue album is one that I always associate with Christmas because that was the Christmas that I fell in love with Blue.
Mm.
And that album changed my life. It's just life changing. And of course, her song River is on that album, which is a Christmas song.
Mm.
Um, and the Carpenters' A Song for You album, that I always associate that album with Christmas because that was in my dad's collection. And Barbara Streisand's Christmas album, I don't know if you've ever heard that,
Not
but
that one.
oh, it's just that's such a classic. It's such a classic. It's just that's a very grand Christmas album. I mean, um, it's an experience. So those three are the ones that I pull out every Christmas. But then, of course, as I got older, when I was a teenager, Mariah Carey's uh, first Christmas album, Merry Christmas, came out.
Hmm.
Fell in love with that. I mean that album is just flawless. That's a flawless Christmas album, the whole thing. Um, what other Christmas albums? I mean, I love Kelly Clarkson's Wrapped in Red.
Hmm.
I love her rendition of My Favorite Things. That's really a toss up for me between Barbara Streisand's My Favorite Things and Kelly Clarkson's My Favorite Things.
Uh,
But Kelly really, really kills it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, she does.
extraordinary and it's exceptional. It's just, whoa. You're just like, "Rah!" When she at the
Yeah.
end of it, and that song is so brilliant. Oh, to have,
Yeah.
that's just in a whole other songwriting stratosphere. So I love Wrapped in Red, but some of the lesser known Christmas albums, I don't know if your listeners know this, but Mariah Carey has a Merry Christmas 2 album. I think she released it in 2016. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
It's exquisite. I think it's just as good, if not better, as the first one, Merry Christmas. Uh, that I'm so addicted to that whole album. I actually think I play that more now than I do her first Christmas album.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, it's and her mother sings on it.
Oh, wow.
Her mother is an opera singer. So she's on one track, I mean, Mariah Carey's Christmas songs are just, the ones that she writes,
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, and what she can do with her voice, the way it just goes all over it, it's I knowing now that her mom sings opera, I could probably make that connection or see the influence there, just the way her voice is so loud and up and down and everywhere.
So dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's extraordinary. And I don't know if you've heard Amy Grant's A Tennessee Christmas album that was
Hmm.
released in 2016. It is so much fun. I can't believe that that album has not been praised more because it's new. She sounds like $1 million. The production um is fantastic. It's very organic,
Hmm.
but what I love about it is there's some really sad Christmas songs on there that are so real. There's a song on there, let's see, what is his name? His name is Isaac Darnell. Wrote a song on that album called December that just
Mm.
is gut wrenching. It just gets me every time. I'd love to actually reach out to him and see if he might be interested in a co-write, but that
Yeah.
album is amazing. I love it. And Vince sings on it, of course. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm trying. I mean, of course, Michael Bublé's Christmas album is wonderful. I
Uh-huh.
love Bing Crosby. I could go on and on. I'm probably talking too much,
Oh,
but
no, that's fine. Yeah, you're hitting a lot of my favorites too. So that's lovely. I was just thinking today about some of the albums I wanted to talk about, and I thought, oh, let's see, Michael Bublé's is so good, but maybe everybody talks about his. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's good. It really is.
yeah,
That older Amy Grant album, that was one my wife just grew up with and loved, and
yeah.
so we have it on our playlist definitely. And
Now,
I'm
do you
sure.
guys listen to that one more, or do you listen to, because she's got four. She's got a Christmas album, and that's with, Tennessee Christmas,
Hmm.
Heirlooms, Love Has Come, and then
That's
there's Home for Christmas, which is, uh, Mary's song,
sure.
um, and Grown Up Christmas List. And
Yeah,
then yeah, so she's got four.
we do listen to Home for Christmas, but then there was that one before that. I think wasn't it a Christmas album? Is what
It's a
it's called?
Christmas album. That's the first one. That was,
Yeah.
I think, 1980s,
This says 1983. Yeah,
83, 84. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, she would have been. My wife would have been about 5 or 6 then. But yeah,
Yeah.
she grew up on that, and I didn't hear that album until we were dating. I think it was, and for
Wow.
whatever reason, I missed that whole side of music. But she's like, "Well, you've never heard this album? Well, you got to listen to it." And it quickly became a favorite, definitely.
What are your favorite songs on it? Just, I'd love to cross reference.
Sure. Well, I love Heirlooms.
Yeah.
That one is really really good. She and it makes my wife cry just about every time. So, I like the "Hark the Herald Angels Sing,"
Hmm.
Emmanuel. Boy, I'm just like reading them all off. I mean, Little Town. I really like. I
Little
love.
Town is great. That's
Yeah.
Michael W. Smith's arrangement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael W. Smith is coming to Omaha, which is the closest big city to us. And my wife's been dropping some hints about Christmas coming and things she might want to go see. Um, she got to go to a Michael W. Smith concert when she was in high school, I think, junior high, and uh, somebody had got her tickets. Or anyway, long story short, she ended up getting to meet him backstage and everything, and her and her friends did. So she's like, I'd love to go again. Now that we're both old, but
He was cute then, and he's still cute now.
yeah, well, I can't comment on
Wow.
that, but yeah, I think she might agree with you. Yeah. Well, and then Sleigh Ride, her version of Sleigh Ride to me,
I
that's
know.
like the definitive version.
It's perfect.
So I would say about a good half of them, I I have on my own personal playlist. I don't have the whole album on, although we have the whole album. I kind of tailor make my own
Yeah.
playlist, but at least half of them are on mine. Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of Mariah Carey's music, but I really like her Christmas, uh, especially the "All I Want for Christmas Is You." The song that you hear every year
Yeah.
many times, and some people are starting to get sick of it. But I have happy memories around that song of just seeing my wife and daughter like lip sync to it, or sing loudly to it while they're in the kitchen. They've got the ladles and the spoons they're singing into, and
Yeah.
they're just having a great time, and it's happy memories.
Okay, can I make one suggestion then from that album, from
Yeah.
the album that came off of All I Want for Christmas Is You?
Hmm.
You have to hear Jesus, What a Wonderful Child from
Okay.
that out. That is her gospel at its finest. I mean, that's to me, that's her sweet spot.
Mm.
That's where she lives vocally. And I think on keys is Loris Holland, and it's just smoking. I
Mm.
mean, that is like that song to me is the holy grail. It's that whole album really to me. I always feel like All I Want for Christmas Is You is just one. It's a gem,
Hmm.
absolutely. But that whole Christmas album is incredible. Oh Holy Night that she does on
Oh
that.
yeah, that's is your voice even human? I mean,
I know. She's
yeah.
otherworldly.
One album I have really just started enjoying this year is a guy named Dave Barnes, and it's
Hmm.
Very Merry Christmas. I was just listening to it again today. It's like a very jazzy sound. He's a singer. It's closer to a Michael Bublé sound, but it seems a little more um, authentic, I guess, or
Yeah. Yeah.
not as polished. Not to make that sound bad.
Or coffee shop jazz,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, exactly like that. It's sounds like something you'd hear, but uh, his album "Very Merry Christmas." Here we go. It came out in 2010. Wow, that's longer. I remember that coming out. Not that seemed
It
that was just
flies.
yesterday. Yeah, yeah. Well, and this music is a little more on the romantic side.
Mm.
His song "Very Merry Christmas." It's like he's having a Merry Christmas because he's with his significant other, and then "Christmas Tonight" is a really fun and cute Christmas song. It's what I tell people, if you like the idea of "Baby It's Cold Outside," but the cultural changes leave you feeling uncomfortable, this is
Yeah.
the song to go to then, because it's still that same idea, but you get a better sense that the couple are either married or they're together, and they're getting ready to leave for a party, but then he's trying to say, maybe we should just stay inside tonight. It's cold, and it's a lot more playful, and maybe not as
Not
toxic.
as pervy.
Yeah, yeah, less pervy. Yeah, yeah. Which, some people have strong feelings one way or the other on it, but this song definitely is a lot. It's very cute.
What other word is there,
I know. I get the arguments. I've heard them all, but I'm sorry. The song, the "Baby It's Cold Outside," it just makes me uncomfortable. So,
Well, there's just, I mean, the thing is, I was actually listening to it the other day. Somebody's version was on the radio. If they just changed a few of those lines,
mhm.
like say what's in this drink, maybe they could change it to something else, and then um Yeah, I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head. There was a few of those other lines. I was thinking, okay, somebody needs to just change these five lines in here, and then it's
Hmm.
gonna be okay. But the call and response and how she's saying, no, I gotta go, and then I mean, what if they switched it? What if
Hmm.
she was telling him, or what if we just updated it
Hmm.
a bit?
Yeah, yeah, and this song has that kind of call and response to it, and I've heard some versions where they've changed the lyrics to the man trying to acknowledge consent and encourage her to leave, and that doesn't work either because all it sounds like is he really wants her to go and doesn't want her
Oh,
around anymore, and she's trying to stay, and it just kind of failed that way.
oh.
I think it was Lady Gaga and Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a gender swapped one, and I
Hmm.
thought that one that worked. Where
I've got to hear that.
yeah, I think that was the one. But it's a beautiful song. It sounds
Great
great.
melody. Such a great melody.
Lady Gaga just killed it. That was a little more fun. But anyway, Christmas Tonight, I think, is much better if you want a song like that. And he sings it with Hillary Scott.
Oh,
The whole front end of this album is I think really good songs. And he does a cover of All I Want for Christmas Is You, which I love that version of it.
cool.
He's not as energetic as Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
I mean, who can be?
It's tough to beat her vocal energy.
Right. But yeah, then he does some covers, some new songs, and throughout. Like I said, it's mostly like a Christmas love album. Not all of them, but most it tends that way more. But yeah, that's one I've really enjoyed this year, especially. Sometimes it takes a couple years for an album to really kick in on me.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know who's like that for me is Nora Jones.
Hmm.
There's a couple of albums that she has that I put in, and I'd listen around the house. And then all of a sudden it was like, I don't know, 6 months later, I have got to hear that again. Her stuff works its way into my bones
Hmm.
somehow. And then it's like they become these albums that I can't live without.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how music does that. It does take up a space.
Yeah, she put out a Christmas one last year, which I really enjoyed. Should probably have her on the podcast sometime, but no. She won't return
Hey,
my calls. Yeah, yeah.
contact her.
Yeah. And another one I like is this is a classic. This is probably on everyone's list, but the Charlie Brown Christmas album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Good
that's
scrawly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you say you're a Christmas fan if you don't like that music? I mean,
No. I know, don't you? But see, I just love watching a Charlie Brown Christmas every year. I have to watch it.
hmm.
I mean, I remember, and I am so dating myself, but like when it would come on TV and you would just, okay, we have to be in front of the TV.
Yeah.
You could stream anything back then, and it was such an experience. And I loved being in the onesies as a kid and just, huddling around the TV with all of your neighborhood friends.
Hmm.
So much fun to watch Charlie Brown.
I have a lot of memories about that. That would be my dad would put the album on while we're decorating for Christmas or whatever,
Yeah.
or I mean, he'd be the one looking at the TV guide, when is this going to be on? Okay, it's highlighted. Okay, we're going to watch it together, and I love that. And like you said, we kind of miss some of that now when we can just watch whatever on
I
demand.
know there's no like fever.
Yeah,
No fever for the whole the anticipation isn't the same.
right. Yeah.
We used to schedule our lives around the shows that we wanted to watch,
Hmm.
and now we schedule our shows around our lives.
Right. That being said, I love that I can have a playlist of 1,000 Christmas songs all on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Although, it was Todd from Christmas Clatter. He was talking about listening to albums once, and maybe you can chime in on this,
Oh,
but
he and I go back and forth all the time on our
yeah,
yeah, the Ingrid Michaelson, gosh, what is it called? Sounds of
yeah,
the Season.
yeah,
He turned me on to that. That one is now, I can't believe I forgot to mention it earlier. That is a brilliant Christmas album.
yeah.
That's a it just makes me so happy to listen to that. And when it's over, I start it all over again. That's one that I just got, I love, love, love that album. And Casey Musgraves has a really cute, very country Christmas album. A very Casey Christmas, I think is what
Mhm.
it's called. Love that little record. It's so funny. She has such a fantastic sense of humor. Um, uh, oh my gosh, what is that song that she does with um have a very, very, very oh, Will a Willie Nice Christmas that she does with Willie Nelson that's hysterical.
Oh,
It's hysterical.
now that
It's
one I
all
haven't
about
heard.
it, yeah. It's
Okay,
all about smoking pot.
okay.
Um,
Well, I would
I
expect
hope you
nothing
have a
less.
Willie. I hope you have a Willie nice Christmas, and may we all stay higher than the star at the top of the tree. The whole album is just, it just makes you smile. It's so much
Oh,
fun. That's one that I put on in the morning. It's just bright and cute and that one's a blast.
fine. And that was called a very Casey Christmas.
Yeah, very Casey Christmas. I think
Okay,
that's what it's called. Yeah.
yeah, that's a new one on me. I'll have to check that one out. Yeah,
Casey Musgraves is just, she's awesome. Everything that she does, I am just in awe of her. She's such a great songwriter.
there's a few that I are just my go-to albums that are just instrumental.
Hmm.
Doug Hammer has a piano one, actually has two, but the one called Noel I love. It's very cozy, very relaxing. And then there's one called Guitar Winterlude, which I'm not even sure the name of the guy who does it, but it's just guitars of different kinds and background instruments. I think there's even an electric guitar at one point, but it's all very just relaxing.
Yeah.
And my wife introduced me to that one. She had bought it in college just because she needed something Christmassy to listen to study for finals, and I think it was on sale at Walmart. But I love it so much. It's the album we put on when we have our Christmas Eve tradition of after the kids go to bed, we have fondue where
Oh,
we do it with little pieces of meat and like steak and chicken mostly, and then some dough balls that we can kind of fry into a little round piece of bread or something. I
I
don't know. It's
love
good.
that tradition. That's so fun.
Yeah, her parents started that back when they were first married, and then we've kind of carried it on with us.
Nice.
So that's one of the albums we'll play on Christmas Eve night. That is just even now when I hear the opening notes of the album, I'll just kind of melt like, oh, all right.
Yeah. The
And
association of music and food and the memories and all of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can, and I found it now. Not only I found an MP3 for the longest time, I couldn't even find MP3 of it, but then it's also on YouTube now. The album is on YouTube as well. So check out the show notes. I'll be posting some of these for you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you.
And then I really like a group called the Blenders, and I've talked about them before. I don't. Are you familiar with them? They're from South Dakota area, so they've played a lot of the Midwest, and they have a bunch of Christmas music. But we got to go see, and they play on the radio here in our area anyway a lot. And we got to go see them in concert one year, and then there's another year they were doing it like a half-hour free concert at a local mall. And I've told this story before on the podcast, but our kids were real young. We were just didn't have a lot of money at the time, and so hey, we love these guys. They're going to be here free at the mall. Let's go and see them, and they were just playing outside, and they were kicking off for Black Friday weekend, I think it was, but it's easy to ignore that when you don't have any money. So we can just
Exactly.
go and enjoy the
Yeah.
concert, and beautiful downtown Des Moines, beautiful Christmas lights and all
Yeah.
that. And yeah, it was one of our favorite as a family. That was our favorite Christmas memory by
Yeah.
far. There's a lot that happened that night that we just remember, and so now whenever we hear them in their albums, we think about that night and just the fun we had, and I
Yeah.
love how that happens, like how music does that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they have one song I mean, it can almost bring me to tears every time, but it's called "Tiny Little Christmas," and
Mm.
like I said, it was a quartet of four men, but I think they started off as like a kind of a band sound when they were younger, and they've kind of progressed a little bit, but it still has a kind of a pop feel to it.
Yeah.
But that one, they do a lot of harmony and blending of their voices, and not a lot of background instruments. It's almost just pure voice, and it's just really, really a beautiful message that it makes us think about our kids when they were kids, and we had that tiny little Christmas, just simple things that
Yeah.
happen, and
And don't you think that that's the thing? I mean, the whole I think Christmas has just gotten so big. I mean,
mm,
I was I was crafting the other night, making ornaments and listening to the classic A Christmas Carol, the Dickens
mm-hmm,
novel. Um, and just back then, Christmas was about the meal, maybe the kids got one gift if they could afford it, but it was all of it was the whole experience. It was
mm-hmm,
the decorating with whatever you had. It was, I mean, it's become so commercialized, but there's something so sweet about these simple little things. Like yesterday, they put up a brand new coffee shop down the street, and my niece, who's 21, texted me and said, "Hey, Auntie, do you want to walk down to the new coffee shop?" And it was so cold outside, and she's in a skirt, and I'm, let me get you a jacket. And then we get out there and we're walking fast because it's cold, and we're talking about her life and her boyfriend and her friends. And it's that was so precious. That one little memory, it's always, I know now that it's going to be, hey, remember when it was freezing and you were wearing a skirt and we walked to the coffee shop down the street? But
yeah,
it's getting out there and seeing the lights, and all of that. I mean, sometimes I think I kind of get that melancholy on Christmas Day
mm-hmm,
sometimes, because it's the whole rush, it's the whole, it's over, or it's almost over. But I think that it's just because it's those simple things that we all kind of slow down around the holidays, and we have the opportunity to walk to the coffee shop. We have the opportunity to, whatever, mingle with the neighbors over a glass of champagne and listen to their music that they have on over at their house. And
mm-hmm,
um I don't know, try making something new, make a new ornament, make a new, whatever it is. But I think what we long for is that time to let go and do something unique and not be on a schedule.
mm-hmm.
Because December 26th comes and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, crashing back to life.
No.
Yeah.
This year, we're really looking forward to. We're doing Christmas a bit different. We're waiting till December 26th to have our Christmas.
Oh, interesting. Mhm.
Christmas is on a Sunday. We have some different things going on. It just we're getting
Yeah.
so panicked over we got to get this done, and my one of my sons said, like, well, why don't we just push it back a day? And we're all like, wait, yeah, why don't we just do that? That's a brilliant idea. So yeah, so that's so we're gonna have our Christmas Eve traditions on Christmas night, and then just push it all back. And anyway, long story short, it's I think it's gonna work out nice and helping us to not you know realize Christmas doesn't end just at midnight
Right.
on December 25th. It's about at
Yeah.
least a week between New Year's. You know.
I know. Doesn't it just bum you out when everybody just takes down their trees on the 26th?
Yeah, yeah.
I love to keep mine up. I mean, I like to keep it up till like January 10th, January 15th,
Hmm.
um, and just appreciate it a little bit longer. But
It took so long to get it
yeah,
up.
I know. It's just, but I love this time of year because it's just, it's so good for us to celebrate our lives and how far we've come and reflect on the year. And, it's dreamy. It's just a
Hmm.
really dreamy time,
Hmm.
and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that week really between Christmas and New Year's,
Oh,
and
I do too.
especially
Yes.
like if you can
The
get time
best.
off. Yeah. Yeah. Just lay around and eat leftovers,
Yep.
you know, if you have got Christmas presents,
Nobody's
whatever.
really back at it yet.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's really I mean, I feel like with music anyway, like the whole business it doesn't really kick in until February. It's
Hmm.
just everybody's kind of still in a coma
Yeah.
in January, but and for musicians January is really tough because there are no gigs.
Hmm.
So when I was younger, January was a nightmare because it was just, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? But then as you do enough of those big New Year's gigs and a lot of the Christmas gigs, and you're so exhausted that January of having no gigs is like a godsend.
Hmm.
Oh, cool. I get my weekends back, but yeah, it's a great time of year. And you really, I mean, don't you look back on your year around this time and just do you marvel at everything that you got done?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, even even just with hobbies like podcasting, looking back over the year and think, when did I even have time to do that?"
Yeah,
And
I
this year it
know it.
seems like I've had less than normal, but
Yeah, I know it's like, and if we don't make an intentional effort to do these things, I mean, other things will just take up that time and attention.
and that's the thing, I got to be deliberate about that. I mean, you have to make those time to, as odd as it would seem, even to make time to with your family, because
Yeah,
life has a way of just taking control of things, and
yeah,
yeah, yeah, and that's something that, I even had to remind myself. It's like, wait, yeah, I could do this other project, but my daughter really wants to go out for a walk or go look at Christmas lights, and at the end of the day, which is going to be better for me?
yeah.
Get one more project done, or
Or what's going to be more enriching? That's the
right.
question that I ask myself is this going to be an enriching experience? I mean, if it's like there's a cost to anything that you choose to put your energy into, and sometimes that cost is absolutely worth it.
Hmm.
So it's is it putting enrichment into your soul bank account? And that is so important.
Hmm. Right. And I guess you could classify that under self-care and things like that, and making sure that you're making that time. And so I guess to tie it back to the theme here, Rhea and I have given you all plenty of albums now to go and feed your soul with. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I wanted to ask just a couple quick questions here of you before we go. I've been asking some of my guests recently about any tips for showing kindness to others during this time of year. Is there anything you would think would be a great thing for us to do to show kindness to those around us? Or is there something that somebody has done for you that's been an act of kindness that you've appreciated?
Yes. I was in the middle of a move over the summer, and I was going through the Starbucks drive-through, and the gal at the at the window, she said, "Oh, this guy said that he cut you off in traffic when you were trying to get in, and he wanted to buy your coffee for the day."
Hmm.
And a couple of days ago, I accidentally cut somebody off, and she honked at me. going through the drive-through, and I bought her a coffee, and she had her whole family in the car, and I just
Mm.
bought everybody their coffee. And that was it just felt so good to, and that came from remembering that somebody had done that for me. I've done that before, bought somebody's coffee behind me, but it was interesting that I was the one
Mm.
who often remembered that memory.
Yeah.
Um, Toys for Tots bins, they
Mm-hmm.
are everywhere. Just pick up a toy, put it in the Toys for Tots bin. I love Compassion International. I sponsor a child through Compassion. And I started doing that, I think like 5 or 6 Christmases ago. Um, that is really, really rewarding. I mean, if you have $35 a month to spare, what that can do for a child, to educate a child in a third world country,
Mm-hmm.
is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've really been enjoying just inviting my niece and my nephew to come over and craft and bring their friends. You know, hey, if you guys want, you know, to come over and craft for the day, I've got plenty of supplies. I just made a big run to Michael's the other day and just bought a bunch of those bulbs, you know, those plastic bulbs, which are really inexpensive, and printed off some really cool, like 99-cent vintage printouts that you can get on Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
I got some fake snow and some ribbon. My niece was here last night until about midnight. She's bringing her boyfriend's little sister, who's 8 years old, later on this week, and we're gonna do that. Um, if
Fun.
you have a sibling who has small children, offer to babysit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everything. You know,
Yeah.
last year, my sister and her best friend, my sister's best friend has 3 small children, and I babysat for them while they went out and had a manicure pedicure day and a girl day, and I ended up having the best time with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, I ended up having the best day with them. I still remember the chaos that went down that day, and I still have the memory of being with those kids that day. They were hilarious. Um, you know, just if you've got a neighbor that you're that is spending the holidays alone, drop off a bottle of wine, make some cookies for them. Just do something unexpected. You know, we all kind of do our immediate family. We take care of our immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember one year I was at a checkout stand down in Los Angeles where I was living at the time, and the checkout lady there was just, I was getting a 6 pack of wine. I was having a bunch of friends over for a holiday thing, and she said, "Oh, you're getting this wine that, you know, is it good?" And I said, "Yes, it's very good." And she said,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, it's too expensive for me." And I just gave her 2 bottles out of the bag and said, "Merry Christmas, enjoy these." And she started crying because apparently nobody had ever done that for her before.
Wow.
And I just, that was such a moving moment. You have no idea what
Mm-hmm.
your ripple effect is in somebody's life. And and it's addicting to do it. It feels so good to
Yeah.
just spread love out there. And
Yeah.
that's what's, see, if you do that kind of stuff all the time, all throughout the year, people think you're weird. And I like to do it year
Yeah.
round, but around the holidays, it's it's just really special.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. There's some great ideas there. And what's neat is, I mean, it's easy. Anyone can do it. You know, we don't, I mean, it can be as simple as buying the coffee for someone, like you said.
It changes somebody's day. I mean,
Right.
you know, when somebody does it for you, you really it's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an unexpected. It's these unexpected things, and you remember them, and it makes you want to do that for somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's just, and that is worth, I mean, as human beings, we're basically, we can basically be pretty selfish. So if you
Mm-hmm.
need a reason to do it because it's going to feel fabulous for you.
Right. Right. And I mean, it can turn a Scrooge into I don't know, a better Scrooge, I guess. It turned a Grinch into a Scrooge. I don't know. There's something in
Yeah.
there, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Rhea, I want to just thank you for coming on again, spending time here talking about our favorite albums, and I would definitely have yours on my list of favorites. So, folks, if you
Thank
need a
you.
good Christmas album, go and check hers out. Should be easy to find.
Yes, Celebrate and 'Tis the Season are the two. And then I've got a new one coming next year. So yes, thank you. And thank you for listening to my music and having me on.
You bet. Well, you take care and have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Well, this week, Christmas is coming. I am really looking forward to having time to celebrate, to rest, to enjoy presents and food and family and fun and all of that. And as I reflect back over oh boy, when I started this, July 2020, 100 episodes ago, this podcast has become such an important part of my life, of how I even celebrate Christmas now. And I'm really grateful for all the opportunities that have come my way. A couple things about what's coming up next. I will have another episode, an interview with with an author. I'm either going to release that on the 22nd or a couple days after Christmas. I really wish I could get that in for sure before Christmas, but my time has just really gotten away from me. But I know it's one you will enjoy. Another wonderful cozy mystery writer, and I enjoy our conversation about Christmas. And I would hope that most of you will be still listening to podcasts, especially the week between Christmas and New Year's. I mean, that's Christmas time still, folks. I will have a Christmas Eve episode with a story, and as I mentioned, some of my thoughts about the religious significance of Christmas and what it means to me personally. So stick around for that for sure. And I will either have it out on the 23rd or 24th itself, although I kind of hesitant about it because I'd love for you guys to be spending time with your family, not listening to me, but maybe I'm part of your Christmas tradition now. You and your family can gather around the cell phone and listen to my dulcet tones, as it were. And then coming up in 2023, I have some plans I'm really looking forward to. One is going to be doing a year-round Cozy Christmas Book Club, where we will be taking a month to read a book together, and then the next month we'll discuss it, probably on an episode or a YouTube video or something. I'm going to be doing more of that planning in January, just trying to get through some of the Christmas season stuff. I also have an idea to set up a Patreon where I'll be doing some bonus episodes. What I'd like to do with those is to look at Charles Dickens's Christmas novels beyond A Christmas Carol, read them, as well as doing some deeper dives into them. Some of his stories are not necessarily cozy or Christmassy, but they carry a profound message that I would love to explore more for those who might be interested in hearing, my thoughts on it, as by no means an expert, but as a Dickens enthusiast. I have thoughts and I need to get them out. So that might come around starting end of December, early January as well. And then also that would be a way to help support the podcast going forward. There'll be some other gifts and benefits from signing on there as well. So those are kind of the couple big things I have planned for 2023. So make sure you follow me on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also my email at cozychristmaspodcast@gmail.com. Send me an email and let me know if you're interested in the book club, especially. All right, that'll do it for me today. Got a lot to do yet this week to get ready for Christmas. I can't wait. So I've got a few more episodes between now and the end of the year. You'll want to make sure to keep an ear out for. So until next time, make sure, as always, to check out the show notes. There's ways there that you can help support the podcast, both financially, but also if you want to help out, just leave a review or share on your social media. Word of mouth is a powerful tool. So I'd love to have your help in getting this podcast out to as many people as we can. Remember to be kind to each other and to do good, and let us honor Christmas in our hearts and try to keep it all the year. Have a very Merry Christmas.